So this session is about accounts payable interface. There are two aspects to accounts payable interface. There is invoices against purchase orders, okay, and invoices just because you had to rent a truck or rent a lift or something like that. So that's the two types. So if we go into our project list and we look at work to do or work to do waiting parts for a project right here, we had our little project, and these parts have been invoiced, which means we probably generated a purchase order for them. So if I go to the F8 screen, our purchase order was $55.74. Okay, $55.74 XX. So we can use that project, and our project is $95.94, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we get an invoice in from our vendor, and we go over here to the accounts payable interface, task, accounts payable interface, AP interface, click over there. And there we have where we can create a pay voucher for either a purchase order or a job. Okay? Now there is some setup stuff. We have to set up your GLs, so this is another place where we're going to put the GLs for inventory, cost of goods, equipment rental, whatever the classic invoice types that can come in for jobs.
Okay.
So,
now, and it'll be edited in that screen.
Edited in this screen.
Okay.
Normally you might try to bring in the GL from QuickBooks. I have an import from QuickBooks, but it would bring all of them in, and you don't need them. You need 10. You don't need 50,
Right.
or whatever yours is going to be. So you might as well just put them in. It's too simple not to just put them in. And the same thing on the accounts payable side. You're going to have your accounts payable GL over there as well. Okay? And we'll talk about the setup of this when you're ready to open the store. We do have the desktop version of QuickBooks. Will let you can do credit card. You can put a credit card in here too and pay against multiple type transactions. So this does work actually.
And CIC is using that, correct?
Maybe not. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. Now, so let's enter a transaction. So we get an invoice from a vendor. We're going to go ahead, come over here to this screen here, and we can simply put the PO number because the PO number is generally going to be on the invoice. Correct? Like 99% of the time. So we can come over here to $55.74, and then we can enter the amount that's on the invoice, and then the invoice number, whatever's on the invoice. Okay. Now, I don't happen to, and this invoice check total, if you put $500 on here, it's going to look to see that there's $500 being distributed on your voucher. Okay. I don't know the amount of the purchase order we're using, so I'm going to leave this particular one blank and say don't check. But the idea behind this one here is that if you put $500, it should add up to $500, is the whole point of that interface. Okay?
Is this where you get confused?
I always do that one.
We came here to create pay voucher. We selected, we're going to pay against the purchase order. We enter the PO number 5574. XX is the office we're in. We enter the invoice number that we have from the vendor, and then the amount. Let's say it's $500. Then with this check total, at the end of this, it should add up to $500. That's the purpose of that. If you have a freight amount, you have different amounts, you may want to make sure they add up. Now, I don't know what the amount is this particular purchase order, so I'm going to not check sum over here. Okay? But you would want that one to be checksum. And then you click on this guy, and it brings up the editor where you can see the purchase orders have been received. Now, interestingly enough, everything's received in full except for this guy's only 25. So by default, it doesn't let you pay the 50, it only pays the 25 that's been received. And the keystroke to make that happen is with the pay button. Click over there, and then you have a couple options. You can pay a single line like that, and it will just mark that pay, okay? Or you can do this, or you can press the F6 again, and it will it'll pay single crime. Now, I guess I'm sort of out of that mode.
So F6 is just to continue on?
Exactly correct. Exactly correct. And you notice when we got down to this guy, it did not pay the 50, it only paid the 25, because that's all that's come in. So that's a checks and balance against the receiving side of things, okay? Okay. There's a way to get that key to come back up. I just don't remember what it is. The little menu option to come back up. Because there was a pay all received. That's what I wanted to say. There was a pay all received, and then the third one was pay
Prompt quantity.
She's right there.
She's-
Pay with prompt quantity, because there might be multiple invoices even within a single line, and so you only want to pay the quantity that that invoice is invoicing for. So she's exactly right. Pay with prompt for quantity. Okay?
But yeah, if we can get it back up to prompt, that's great. Because I haven't been able to get it to come back up,
Yeah.
like in DevNet. So if I do that, it's asking me it for every single line. Now,
Okay.
sometimes those received,
Mm-hmm.
they don't show up quite like that all the time. It's like sometimes it's received, but it looks different than the normal.
The without the O it's a dedicated purchase order.
Okay.
With the O in quotes, it's on order for a project.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at
Very
that.
good. Thank you. We had to have this training.
So without the O, it's just a stock.
It's just a stock purchase order. With the O, it's on order for a project. Okay? Now, this total here is reflective. This is reflective of the total purchase order. This is reflective what's been paid or marked for payment because of the quantity multiplication. Okay, this may still not add up to because they might have the pricing different on the items. There might have been a discount that they gave you weren't aware of, or they didn't let you take a discount that you took. So the amounts might be different here. So you need to look at the pricing on this to make sure it matches, the unit pricing matches the invoice. Am I saying right? Okay. To that end, if the controller in this example here, the first item was $550 and they've got $600 in the purchase order, and they're gonna only charge you $550, you can make an edit. You need to make an edit to this. It's not a matter of can. You need to make an edit to this up or down so that the purchase order now reflects the invoice from the vendor. Now, if you challenge that, if it's worth some figure more than what you want to pay, if it's up and it's $50 or $100 higher, you might want to slow down and terminate this invoice and find out why it's higher. If it's to your benefit,
Just do it.
just don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, we don't question lower.
We don't question lower, and the question is, if it's $5, I don't care. That's it's not worth an hour's challenge to figure out where we're paying $5 extra. Okay, you get my point. And this is your world, so there's a pain threshold where you want to wonder what's going on. But the important point about that is this. This has been a received item. That means $600 went to job cost and hit the job for $600. Okay, so we need it to be reflective of the invoice so we can pay the right amount. So we need to correct this up or down to be the amount that we're going to be paying so that the check is right going to the vendor. But this also, if it happens to be to our benefit or negative, that prompt right there just corrected job cost. It actually seeded the job cost module with a $50 credit against this purchase order. Okay? So the hardware side of the job cost is really managed through this, either the simple receiving or the correction through the accounts payable module. Okay? So now we're going to exit this guy out here, like so. Continue to create pay voucher, yes. And it takes you to the secondary screen where you have the final parts of this thing. Now you'll notice that this vendor was taxable, and so it threw tax in there, okay, based on the tax of the purchase order / vendor, okay. Now, in my case, I'm putting it to simple cost of goods. You might put it to taxes. This is your world, how you run your GL. You may say, well, we're not taxable, and you could zero the whole thing out. So that's viable as well. Okay, if you know you're not taxable, that's fine. But then you do have a freight amount. So the freight amount, let's say it's $55 against this thing, and then you have a GL code that you're going to send it to. Now this can be a cost of goods GL, or this could be freight GL. Again, it's your GL. I don't care which one you post to.
Does it throw that freight cost against the project?
Thank you very much. That is one of the beautiful things of the AP interface, is that $50 will be apportioned. I use that word on purpose because if this is a group PO, it will distribute the costs appropriately across all the projects. So it actually is apportioned based on the value of the individual component. So on the job cost report, under extras, you're going to see $55, but divided up by all the little parts. So it gives it nice little proportional thing. But yes, it posted against the job. Now over here, this is where you're going to put your accounts payable account, which generally would be 2,000 or whatever it is on your side, and then whether this is going to inventory or cost of goods. Again, this is how you run your GL. Okay?
Now, do we have to worry about changing that whenever it's actually ordered as inventory?
Or will it be auto-populated, 13500, 40100?
Or when they place the purchase order?
If it's no, it won't know. I don't care. I don't care. I don't carry the difference between a job PO and a.
It's the 40100.
It's always supposed to be 40100, or is it? What if it's stock?
Well, if it's a stock PO,
The stock is 13500 until it goes, then it goes
Because
back
that's
to
inventory.
401.
Because every once in a while when I'm entering
But that's
into
your fault.
CICs, sometimes it's the purchases, sometimes it's under as inventory.
Interesting. Okay.
So I've been a little iffy on some of that.
well, let me tell you something here. You really shouldn't have both ways because of the following. This is a GL conversation, not a AP interface, but we're here. In the setup of the product code tapes, which you have to do on this side yourself, still, you have the revenue side of a sale. But on the right side of that screen, there's the inventory and GL fields. If you fill in the inventory and GL fields, I debit inventory and credit cost of goods. Is that the right way? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. I debit inventory, credit cost of goods. And that happens automatically when you send the invoice into QuickBooks. So if we have debit inventory, credit inventory on the accounts receivable side, we're already taking from inventory and posting the cost of goods on that side. So if you get an invoice in from a vendor, it should go to inventory and not cost of goods because it's a project, because it's going to be double hit because this invoice is also doing that transaction.
Is It's reversing that transaction.
Yeah, so you really want to put it to just inventory. Because if you care that you have inventory, then you put it to inventory. And you let the billing system
Hit purchases.
hit cost of goods.
Okay.
That's the answer. You get it? Sorry. Okay? So you might want to think about that. I'm not sure what the ramifications and the big picture of that looks like.
I think I was just worried that the only times it changed is if maybe they took it off the job or something from that purchase order, they unallocated it
Yeah.
or whatever. It wasn't sent out to a job and it's still sitting in our inventory.
No, it's
I
being
think that's where I.
yeah, it's depleted on the billing side. This is assuming we're doing a bill. Now that's a real reason to do a bill is we want cost of goods to lower your inventory, increase cost of goods.
But no matter what, I just want to use
Even if the bill's
inventory.
at $0.
Exactly correct.
Okay.
Exactly correct. Even if it's $0, you do a $0 invoice, we just hit cost of goods,
Okay.
debit inventory. Credit inventory, debit cost of goods. Okay, so on this screen right over here, now some people don't have inventory. They only have cost of goods. They consider everything expenses. But if you do consider what you have back there as inventory, then yes, this goes to inventory.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna set up the defaults. And
Absolutely. Well, the defaults are chosen at the time you put the bill in. So this will be blank when you bring up this vendor first. It's just because I'm using my system, it already knows what it is.
Okay.
But all of these fields will be blank, and then you populate them. This checkbox here saves them for this particular vendor.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And the same with the terms and the GLs down here as well. And then here's where you put your invoice from your vendor like so. Okay? And if you want to change the date, you can change the date. If you want to backdate it because it was a something 31st invoice, that all works. And then these terms would follow the terms day of the due date based on that. Okay? It didn't change because I just changed the date, but yes? Okay. And then you hit the post button like so, post, click, and that just seeded the export for accounts payable. And then you would come down here to post to actually create the export file. Now I'm not going to do that yet. I want to create the other invoice type. So the other invoice type is a raw invoice from a vendor for a lift or something like that that's going to hit the job as a just seed to the job. And that's this guy down here, and then you can enter the project number that you're posting against. And there you would click on, in this case, 9554 XX, and then again, now we know the amount because this is going to be $1,500, like so, and our invoice number is, Those are because these ones we know, and then we say open project. Now the first thing it does is prompt us for the vendor. So in this example, I'm going to use Ultimate Support because we got a lift rental for that guy. But this could be, it could be hotel charges, it could be whatever you want to
What
do.
if the vendor isn't there? You can create it there?
No, I don't have an add vendor functionality here. You need a, you can't, you have to pause this because this is in modal mode. You have to go add the vendor over here. It will send the vendor over to QuickBooks if you do add it on the project side. So you can do that, but I don't have an add vendor on this screen here. Okay, select vendor, Ultimate Support. Now it takes us to a miscellaneous screen, posting screen. Here's some default ones that I have in place. You're welcome to edit this list. You always want to leave a miscellaneous down at the bottom, and you can only have 20. So, in this case it's equipment rental, and I can go ahead and say $1,400, and we have a $100 delivery charge. Now, it's all going to go to the same place, so you can make it $1,500. But if you wanted to break it up for some reason, you could put a portion here and then come through the back door and do the delivery charge as well. Okay. A lot of guys, you see it put the vendor name there, and you can also modify this note field and say lift for room 100. If they put that note on the invoice, that some sort of verbal note, you could look down and will comment this was an invoice for that. Well, you can put that note right there, And that way it shows up on the job cost report why we got that cost. It shows up under equipment rental, but it shows up with the vendor and then the room, any notes they put on there. Some people put the invoice number, some people don't put the invoice number. It's up to you. But it's just an extra note field that appears in the job cost report under extras. Okay? And then now in this case, I put it up here, so it's going to post it to that actual cost field there. If I'd said, freights or bonds or permits, whatever that is, it would correspondingly show up along the way of this list, sum to that field there. If I select miscellaneous, it would sum to that field, to this field right over there. Okay? So we hit the post button like so, click, okay, good. And you see, because we chose ultimate support, we had them as equipment rental, as the GL and accounts payable, and net 30, like so. And there's your right, the date's not changing. Look at that. I got to look at that. I put that in there, right? Yes. AP. The term's not changing, but the date isn't changing either. The date should fall back to today. The invoice date.
I mean, I always get the invoice date, but that due date, I will sometimes.
Yeah, it's not changing on that. Yeah, it should be. It should be changing based on the invoice date. But it's not changing. Okay. I'll take a look at that. All right, so you'll notice we have a balance here. Because we said 1,500 on the first screen and we only posted 1,400 to the job, it's looking for the balance like so that it zeroes itself out like this, and it's going to go to our freight account versus the equipment rental charge. Okay, and then we can go ahead and hit the post button. You can select a different vendor if you want to, like so. You can select a different vendor for some reason if it's not the right vendor, but you chose it in the first place anyways. Any other comments?
Are we using the classes in here as well for systems?
The classes will follow.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
the classes will follow the project.
Is there any way to allow it to tab through to the class? Because I know with CIC it won't tab. I have to remember to go in and check on it.
Oh, tab through as in positionally go there?
Like from there and to class.
I guess I wasn't. Where would you want to, from there, where would you want to go to class?
From the comment line, because I always change that.
Okay, and then, have it tabbed there. Okay, okay, fine. Look at the user of the this is, see, I would have never look at this thing.
I'm trying to make things easier and quicker
Won't be easy
for
on me, I'm a
us.
mouse person.
Well, that's fine. You can be a
Even
mouse.
with CMS,
Yep,
you're still a mouse
I'm
person?
a mouse guy, yeah.
And where does that comment line come from?
It's a synthesized comment based on the project number, miscellaneous charge, and then the vendor. You see, it's not all that I put in that line. It came back from that accounts, that other field over there.
Okay.
What are you thinking? Go ahead.
Because I always do our purchase order number, and then who the customer is, and the project number.
Okay.
Blank.
For whenever we do our notes for Dom, so he can see what
I
is
see.
being paid or who's paid. He doesn't know who it is by customer.
Right.
I'm physically going in every time and taking that out,
Massaging that.
changing it. Yeah. And if I have to keep doing it, that's fine. But
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant about changing the way it does it because, well, this field is important because that's the relationship back to
no, that's how I find out what it is.
yeah, that's
It's
important
not-
because there's some the AP button down at the bottom of a project links back to that field. So you don't want to mess that up because if I lose the link, then you can't push that button.
I don't touch that field.
Yeah.
I leave that one
Okay.
like that because that's what brings up that number down there for
Yeah.
me, so I know who it is.
Yeah, yeah. And this I put there on purpose because I've got another customer that depending on the type of job they're doing, they actually change the general ledger based on the AP entry. They have 4 different districts that they're dealing with. So they have to change cost of goods to be based on where the job's located. So that's why there's some information that they have in their project number that tells them the jurisdiction they're in and all
No,
kinds of
I
crap.
like that.
Okay.
That's been a big help to me. I'm
Yeah.
CIC.
Yeah, okay. And then again, when we're finished with our entry screen, you can save these settings locked in for that vendor, and then we hit the post button, click invalid date. Okay, thank you very much. 30 days have vendor this thing. Okay, good.
We
And,
don't have the period date.
Invoice date cannot be before.
I haven't seen that period date.
We added that. We added that for a particular customer. Yeah, we have a period date over in the billing thing. We add a period date because we don't want them to put an invoice out of the period they're in.
Now, we used to have to watch that. Have we still been worried about that? The who?
When I received something on 7/31, or the invoice is on 7/31 and I receive it on 8/1, I was always told by Vicky I needed to show received and invoiced in the same month. It just makes it easier
Oh, for her to balance.
to balance.
Is
So
that
I've always done
affecting
that.
you?
Yeah, see right here, this is where you can set the period date, and when you hit this button here, you can now set the period date, and then it won't let any transactions come in before that period. We did that for a particular customer. Now that's an option to be turned on, it's not on by default. But that's why we did that, was they had some accounting issues, they wanted periods to be locked in. So we did that for them. So it's up to you, if we want to turn it on, we can, but if you don't care, it's not on.
That's on to you, Mom.
You're the one balancing it, Dee.
Okay. So at the end of the day, then after that, we come over here to accounts payable. You can come over here to export transactions, just like we can do with accounts receivable. Click on that guy, and then it goes ahead and creates our AP file. And then we go ahead and bring it into, this is the interface to QuickBooks Online. It's actually going to go ahead and stuff it up to the online system like so.
That's what it does for payroll.
Well, there you go. It's just sticking them up there like that, and now the transactions are up inside QuickBooks Online.
Now, if you do that create export, you have to go, in ours, you have to go into QuickBooks and put it in.
Okay.
Single user
Because if you don't, it's gonna get forgotten.
Yeah,
So in other words, it doesn't keep that information there.
yeah. You need to go ahead and go find, go get it, put it in.
Of course, it's only gonna email me, right, just like CIC, or are there other options?
Well, we're emailing you because you're in a different building. You're in a different town. We can set it up to do that if you want, or we can, what this just did is it just created the file in that folder, and like you just said, you go get the file, and you bring it into QuickBooks right away. So you tell me, do you want it to email you separately, or do you want to
And I don't have
do
to
the
wait
eight?
on you. No, then I don't have to wait on you.
Yeah, I
That's the
guess
problem
to
I
the
run
file would
into.
be fine.
email?
No file, to save it to the file.
Well, the problem with save it to a file is it overwrites the same file.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Okay.
So unless you tell me to do something different, I guess I could have it create unique files and then it wouldn't overwrite the file. Right now it's overwriting the file because the intention is to go into QuickBooks and go get the file right away. So you tell me which way you want to go.
Let's keep with email. Let's do the email.
Okay, all right, I'll set that up to email. And both are being emailed to you, correct? AP and?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why, because I don't know, somebody in CIC, and I don't know if it's Susan or what, must have the dollars to accounting key. Or maybe it was Virgie or somehow if I wouldn't have gotten that email,
You wouldn't have known
I
a
wouldn't have known
transaction
that they
did
hid
something.
that. But how they hid it, it shouldn't show on them, but
Let me see, yeah, let me see if there's something. Okay, we're done?
Yes.
Turn the recording off?
Do you feel comfortable, Leo?
Good.
Any questions?
Okay. All right, so I'll stop recording.